movie, they showed something interesting about scanning the brain and making a copy of the person. Actually, this is something common they are thinking about it, but in this movie, they show it very interestingly because they showed that there is this sick child and she's dying. There's no other way. We can either have a copy of her or she's gone forever. So do you think such things would be helpful for a human being? Because I know that you went also through this bad thing in your life, that you lost your close ones, like your mom. So do you think this is a good idea?
I personally think it is not, because even if you copy someone's brain, every moment from that point on, they are not necessarily your parent, your child, or whatnot. They're experiencing the world on a completely different tangent, and they will evolve at their own pace based on the inputs that will come into them. Your parent or that person's journey ended. That arc of that decision making has ended. So that person is not continuing. So yes, it could be helpful if you understand that this is a completely different almost entity that will then go on its own trajectory of learning, interacting with the world around it, but to then put on this entity that's going to continue on experiencing all of your emotional weight for them to have to fulfill, I think is cruel and unrealistic. They shouldn't have to be burdened with everything, with all the expectations and loss that you have, given they're a copy and they're getting to choose a different path. I think if this entity then continues on a path that's not what you would have wanted your parent to have done or something, I think there'd be a lot of animosity from the people that would have replicated and continued it. And it's also been selfish, it's self-serving, because you only want them to exist to fulfill your emotional void and need. I don't necessarily think that's healthy. I think after watching the Bicentennial Man, what makes us human is that we are only here in a finite amount of time. And I think we have to respect that. As much as I would love to have my mum, like honestly, every day I think about her, I would love to have her here with me. But I know that the person, if I were to map her brain and then let them exist in this world, would no longer be her. And then I'd be cruel tying this entity to this belief that it has to fulfill all the things I want it to fulfill so I can relive all the fun memories of my mum. So for me, I don't think it would be helpful. I think, if you wanted to have another entity in your life just for the sake of seeing where it would go, fine. But if you wanted to put all that pressure in, I think that's cruel.
Yeah, I understand your concern.
Yeah, and I think the person whose brain is mapped should also have a say. Like, I know personally my mum wouldn't have liked it. I think she was very, very pragmatic in the sense of like, this is my time, this is what I've achieved, and this is the natural end of things. Would I've liked to have ended it differently? Sure. Less painfully? Sure. Less trauma? Totally. But it is the natural end of everything, and there's a lesson in that. I don't think it would be wise to then, I think they should have a choice if they continue on, if they have their mind replicated. So I think that's also taking away their autonomy in a way. It's like, I'm just going to replicate you like you're a commodity. Like, I think, if you have the choice and you want to, great, go for it. But then everyone around you shouldn't put unrealistic expectations that you're going to fill that void. That's your own continuation journey, or however you want to have that realized in your afterlife.
But if they give you the permission to make this copy, you would do that, right?
Well, if they want to, if that was their choice, then you have to respect their wishes. But then I think the family or whoever it is that's reanimating this brain map would also need to be kind to the fact that this person is continuing on their own trajectory, and you can't necessarily weigh them down with the expectations of fulfilling whatever dreams and desires you have as a result of experiencing loss. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm just rambling.
Yes, I totally understand it, but in general, I'm for it. Definitely, I'm for it, because I think it's better than nothing. Actually, you are saving some brains, and maybe you can save it not just for your personal usage, or maybe for people.
Yeah,
because some brains think differently. They work differently. They process differently. So maybe they can be useful. And on the other hand, as a
true.
personal usage, I'm thinking still when you hear your beloved ones' voices, the way of their thinking. Although, as you said, there is a danger of evolving totally in another way. But this is even for human beings, for the events that we experience, we may become another person after a few years. So,
True. But my only concern is, and it's actually documented in Megan, is that if we as humans remove our experiences of loss and we don't have to deal with that emotion, we saw the consequences of what happens when we have repressed emotions. So if we just brush over loss and we go, oh, we just reanimated them, so they've never gone. If we never experience loss, how does that damage and change the human condition? Because I feel like some of the most profound thinkers, the profound changes that have happened in the world are a result of someone experiencing loss and then wanting to do something to, to better the world or to change something, not necessarily remove that loss experience. So that's my only concern. Like, I would love to keep all the best thinkers in the world, but I do think there's a reason somehow for why we have a finite existence, and what that means for us, I don't know. Like, but I do see a lot of these movies have a common theme that when we repress loss or we brush over or we pretend it doesn't exist, it tends to have a negative consequence on humanity. Don't know why, but that seems to be a common thread in film.
yes, and moving on is not something that human beings shine, but this is really hard and challenging.
Yeah,
But that's why we are thinking about this, like saving our beloved ones somehow
yeah.
in any way possible. But there is also another advantage. Let's say you save one of your beloved ones, you get a copy of his or her brain, and then let's say you don't like the way this AI evolve, then there is always chance that you make several copy of it. Have you ever thought about such a thing? Like you
Wow,
have
that would
five
be
of your beloved ones at the same time in
That
a
would be
parallel.
crazy. Could you imagine having five interact? What would you do with that all that information? Because it's almost like seeing if you chose, like, if your life or your loved one is at a crossroads, like seeing every possibility and eventuality of their life. Like, what do you do with that information? And then what? Do you delete the ones that you don't like? And then what does it mean that if you only pick the narrative stream that you enjoy, like, how does that then internally change your psyche and how you evolve as an individual? That's crazy. With then is like in itself a conversation about how AIs then learn off each other. Like, how does that then, if they can just kill off strains that they don't think are conducive?
Yeah, not
My
everyone
God,
ready for that for sure. It will be so
I'm not ready for
weird.
that.
Yes. But you can even make a copy of yourself. It could be your
I know,
best
as I
friend.
was thinking, like,
Yes.
you can copy of yourself and see every eventuality and see which one sucks, and then just cut that one, cut those chains off, and just focus on the one that does well.
Yeah, but how to manage them, and also how we decide to terminate them, how they affect the population, because some of them may have bodies. So these things are really serious things
Mm.
that
And
we
then
can
who
think
gets to
about.
have that privilege to have those multiple AIs? And would that just then further the whole kind of wealth gap? Like, so that only the wealthy have these multiple AIs that they can see which strain goes, like, which path goes to the most fruitful endeavor, and all the people that don't have money live normal human existences. Like, that would be mental.
Yeah, this topic somehow related to another movie that we wanted to talk about. It's Bicentennial Man, and
Love him.
this one actually, unfortunately, we don't have time again. As you know, we could lose the video, but that one
Mm.
really I want to talk. If you will have time later, we can also talk about this movie and about this right that when we can terminate this robot, is it okay to let him live for 2 centuries? Such topics.
Love to talk about that because that movie is my favorite and it has Robin Williams in it. So obviously,